morning. I am Heidi from Modern Bygone, and it is Saturday, and it is super early. It is very, very dark outside, and I am up and working on my basics course from the Knitting Guild Association. America Association. I haven't drank enough coffee yet. I wanted to vlog my experience with this. I've been knitting for about 20 years. I learned to knit and purl, the knit cast on, and to bind off. I learned those from a woman in a local yarn store that has since closed down, and then I continued knitting, picking patterns that I wanted to do, and learning along the way. I'm very self-taught. I've learned out of lots of knitting books and YouTube videos and online and things like that. And I found the Master Knitting program from the Knitting Guild Association probably 7 or 8 years ago, and I thought, oh, that'd be so much fun. But I was in the midst of finishing education for my career and raising teenagers, and so I put it off and put it off and put it off. Well, this last month I decided that I didn't want to put it off anymore, and so I paid for my membership with the Knitting Guild Association, and I was looking at the prerequisites and doing a little research on the Master Knitting program, and I figured since I'm self-taught, I probably have a lot of gaps in my learning, and I'm a teacher, so I know that that happens really, really easily, and so I decided to go with their basics course first, and then move my way on to the Master Knitting program and go through there. And I really wanted to vlog my process through this because I couldn't really find a lot of information about it. I know that there aren't very many people who have finished the Master Knitting program. I think I watched an interview with one of the chair people, and they had said that there was less than 400 people that had finished the Master program, and that was in 2017, I want to say. So I'm super excited to learn new things and to expand on my craft and become a better knitter. I really enjoy teaching people to knit, but I always kind of have that in the back of my head of, you know, how can I teach people to knit when I'm not an expert? And so I teach them as far as I can go, and then say, okay, now you teach yourself, because that's what I did. So over the last week, I signed up for the basics course, and I printed out my binder of all of my information from Module 1. I've got all of the pages and the swatches and the references and things like that. I ordered online my 100% wool. This is wool of the Andes from Knit Picks, and it's worsted weight. And then I frantically tried to finish a bunch of projects that I had on the needles still that I really wanted to get done before I could focus on my basics course. If you follow me on Instagram at Modern Bygone, I post pictures pretty much every day of what I'm working on and what's in process. I finished a set of fingerless mitts in fisherman rib, which is super soft and squishy. And I am frantically trying to finish this baby hat for the baby layette set that I'm making for a friend, and but I think I'll have that done today. And then I also started on my preliminary swatch for the basics program. And funny thing, so I've been knitting for 20 years. And I thought, oh, I'm going to take the basics course because I want to fill in gaps, and I want to learn new skills and be more well-rounded, and learn how to do all of the things so that when I go and find a pattern, I don't look at it and go, I don't know how to do that one, so I'll pick a different pattern. Or there's a couple of pattern writing companies that their patterns are free, and they've got some really great patterns, but the way that they're written, just, it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm not good enough at reading the patterns to be able to translate it into something that makes sense to me. And so I always start and then get frustrated and then stop and don't finish them. Surprise on me, upon downloading my reference materials and information for the Module 1, the very first one, for the Basics course, all of my swatches need to be cast on using Longtail. I haven't ever done Longtail cast on. 20 years, I haven't done I've never used it. I've always used my knit cast on, which has worked for me. None of my projects have failed because I didn't use the correct cast on. Having learned the Longtail cast on during my first week, there's my first gap, I can see that it is much stretchier than the knit cast on. It holds a nice edge, and it is much more stretchy. I can see myself using that, especially more on like hats and socks and things that need that nice stretchy bind on, because my mitts and things like that have definitely had very tight bind-ons and or cast-ons, and that's because I used the knit cast-on, which is a nice firm, not as stretchy. One downside to the Longtail cast-on: how do you estimate how much string it's going to take? I mean, I don't. I've watched so many videos. Some people are like, oh no, you just wrap it around the needle, how many stitches you need, and then add like 2 or 3 inches, and you'll be good. You won't run out, and you won't have an excessively long tail. And that's what I did with this one, and I still ended up with like, this was only 25 stitches. Like, why? I don't need a foot-long tail on 25 stitches. And for God's sake, how would you cast on using the long tail method? How do you estimate for something that has a larger cast on, like a shawl or a sweater with 100 stitches? I can't fathom how much yarn you would end up using. And I can foresee a lot of frustration of, I think this will be enough, and then get casting on, and then not have enough, and have to uncast on, and move your knot, and recast on. And I remember seeing the long tail cast on, and I think that I immediately went, that's gonna take way too much guesstimation for how much yarn I need to cast on. That's why I like the knit cast on. You make your nice tiny little tail, and then you knit, and you're actually knitting your first stitches onto your needle as you go, and you've knit your first row, and there's no estimation, there's no guess. You know that you have enough yarn, and once you hit how many stitches you need, you just go, because that's your first cast on, that's your first row. So for what that's worth, I'm not completely in love with the long tail cast on. I'll survive. I'll make it work, but I'm definitely not in love. I'll probably use it on things like hats and things that require a more stretchy bind on, or cast on. But I don't know. Still thinking about that. Of course, I'm on swatch number 1, so maybe by the end of this program, I'll be like, yay, I love it, it's fantastic, it's the best. Maybe. Other things that I've learned, I really don't like working with 100% wool. It is itchy and not comfortable. It is unpleasant. I know that it will block the best and I know that it will show the stitches the best, and that's why they want you to use 100% wool if possible. It's not an absolute requirement because, of course, some people have allergies, and I'm a little sensitive to it. I can work with it, I just can't wear it. I'm saying a lot, sorry. So the wool itself is not very, this is not very soft, and I definitely cannot imagine making myself a sweater out of this and going, ooh, I'm going to be so nice and cozy. No, I'd put this on and within 10 minutes be ripping it off going, I'm itchy! But the stitches are showing up really, really nicely. And I'm super excited. That's all upside down, but that's okay. And so there's my first preliminary swatch. There's my first section. I'm about not quite halfway on my second section, and then I have to do a third section down below that. And then I think the first module has, I want to say five swatches plus the preliminary swatch. So I'll do a total of 6 swatches for this one, and then answer questions and things like that. And then I'm also working on building my knitting book library. I love knitting books. I love reading them and the processes and things like that. And that's one thing. Sorry. I've seen a lot of people, not a lot, some people have commented when doing research about the Master Knitting Program that it's more about research and learning about the history of knitting and things like that, and it's more like an art history program. And I'm excited about that. I have a double master's. I really enjoy doing research projects, and I enjoy the process of learning. And so not only am I improving on my skills and learning to knit and making it better and hopefully getting a little faster. I'm not very fast. And becoming more of an expert at my knitting, then and I'm also gonna learn the history of it. It's fascinating. I think it's fantastic. I told a friend of mine that I was doing a new. She's in the midst of her nursing program, and super tough program, crazy amount of work. And she was complaining about a project. She wasn't complaining. She was talking about a project that she was doing and how it was a lot, and how she was going to be up really late that night working on it. And I said, you're going to laugh at me because I just finished my second master's degree in mathematics, and it was a tough program. I worked really hard to finish it. And so I was like, whew, I'm done. Don't have to do that anymore. I'm going to take a break from school for a little while, other than teaching. And here we are less than 6 months later. And I'm like, hey, you're going to laugh because I decided to go back to school, kind of. She was like, what are you talking about? What are you doing now? Why would you go back? Why would you do this to yourself in the midst of all of the heartache and the frustration and the late nights and early mornings and school and reports? And why would you do that? And I laughed and I said, I'm going to go back to school to learn to knit. She stopped. She didn't say anything. She was like, what? What do you mean? What are you talking about? And I said, I found a master's knitting program, and I'm super excited. I'm going to do a educational program that will benefit my family in absolutely no way other than cozy, warm, wonderful gifts. It's not going to increase my career path. It's not going to help me with money or prestige or anything like that. It's just entirely because I love it and I want to improve my skills. She was like, I don't understand. Why wouldn't you just go learn to knit? Like, there's so many resources out there. You could just do it on your own. I said, yeah, good, but I really wanted more of a directed approach. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't increasing my gaps and trying to fill in some of those gaps. And she thought for a while, and she says, well, I guess I can kind of understand it. I mean, you could go for you could do, painting, and you're learning new skills, and you look at the history of the art and things like that, so like an art history degree, I guess, but I mean, why wouldn't you just do that? And I said, well, how is this different? Learning new artistic skills painting, or learning new artistic skills with string. I mean, how is it different? This is just an art history degree, but with knitting. And she laughed and she goes, I can't argue with that. I want to argue with that, but I can't argue with that. I was like, yeah. So, it's not mainstream, and not a lot of people do it, and it's probably a little silly, but I'm super excited. And she says, well, what are you going to be doing in it? And I said, well, I'm going to be doing some sample knitting, and I'm going to learn some new skills, and then I'm going to do some like research papers and learn the hows and the whys, and why does knitting work, and how do you decide what the best process is? And I said, by the end of it, I should be able to write my own patterns, and I should be able to really understand how the knitting works, and so I'll be better able to teach people and understand how to fix the mistakes that they have made, and give them different suggestions and things like that. And she's like, so you're choosing to pay for a program where you have to do more research projects? You could just do research projects on your own. Yeah, I could, but I wanted something more direct. So I'm super excited. I know I'm crazy, and the whole research project part of it, I think, is probably really off-putting for a lot of people, but I'm really enjoying it so far, and I want to vlog my way through. So this is my first week. I printed off my resources. I gathered and purchased my 100% itchy wool that I would never wear. I'll work with it. I'll knit with it. It'll be lovely once it's blocked. It's itchy. So itchy. So I have my yarn. I have my needles. I'm addicted to circular needles. I do everything on circular needles. I learned on straights and then promptly moved to circulars, and everything is done on circular needles. Circulars are double points. I have a vast collection of straight needles that I only use when I'm teaching people. And I have started my knitting book collection. Most of these I already had. I bought a couple, no, I bought one. I bought one new one at a used bookstore last weekend, and then I have two more coming in the mail that I had ordered online based on suggestions from videos from the instructors for the program. And I've got a nice list of my books so that I can figure out which ones I need and which ones I already have, and I've enlisted all of my friends and family to keep an eye out at garage sales and secondhand bookstores for knitting reference books for me, and hopefully by the time I'm done with the Basics course, I will have expanded my library and be ready to do my research projects for the Master Knitters program. So, I hope you enjoyed my blathering. I don't even know what time it is. It's dark. It's still dark outside. I know. I've been up since 6. So, I hope you enjoyed my introduction to, I'm going to get my art history degree in knitting because I can and I want to. So, have a lovely day. I hope that if you are up super early like me, it's because you wanted to be up and not because your animals decided that every weekday we get up at this time, so we should get up today because it's breakfast time. And I will see you again next week. And if you are interested in following along with my story, go ahead and click that subscribe button down below and the like button. And then I'm also on Instagram at Modern Bygone, and I post daily pictures of what I'm working on, crafting. I do knitting and obviously quilting and crochet and basically anything involving string. And then I'm also on Facebook at Martum Ragon. So I hope you have a wonderful day and have a good week, and I will see you next Saturday. Bye.